Hey everybody, I hope you are doing well. I'm Afefe with Touch by Tarot and Beyond, and I am going to do a political reading for you today. I'm taping this on Sunday, April 7th, day before the big major eclipse we're all, hyped up about, been looking into, expecting so many different things, changes that are, portals that are opening to us, changes that are upon us. It's a really interesting time in our history for us. So I was going to do a pick a card reading today, and Spirit said, we're going to do it on the eclipse. So check back with me tomorrow or at the very latest Tuesday morning. They said for some reason, from my perspective, I need to do it for you all once the eclipse has actually taken place. So I will get back to you with that. I'm going to do a political little peekaboo here today. Got a couple of topics that I want us to look into. Spirit led me to. Let's see what's happening. Three things. One is I'm detecting a potential conflict of interest, like serious conflict of interest between Melania Trump and DJT. And I'll get into that. But basically, she is, aside from the fact that she rose like a phoenix out of the ashes all of a sudden for the big fundraiser that was held for the Republican Party and in particular DJT last night in West Palm Beach. So we know that, and supposedly, he outdid Biden with, $50 million. I don't know. The interesting thing about that too, you all, though, is from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong. I love when you all get in the comments, and we just keep it respectful and tolerant of one another. I always have to say that. But, I read that even if someone donated, say somebody donated $225,000, which was one figure I saw, supposedly only 5,000 of that would be permitted to go to Save America, DJT's PAC, super PAC that pays, so he can use that money, some of that money, to pay for his legal bills, and has been. But come on, you telling me, he's front and center. As I said, Melania rose from the ashes to actually appear by his side, which we know she is reluctant to do for very many good reasons. Not a fan of hers, but it's interesting that whole dynamic. But I want to get into that with you all in a moment, because I also understand that on April 20th, she is headlining the Log Cabin Republicans, an LGBT conservative group, and she is their headliner. So we have on the one hand Trump out here, going to this uber religious thing, selling Bibles to the Christian faithful, portraying himself as the second coming of Christ. And on the other hand, she's out here, with LGBTQ conservatives. And interestingly, go ahead and throw this in there. I found out where is it? I got my little notes here. In 2021. So she has a history with this group, with these Log Cabin Republicans. Melania does. And in 2021, she was also a headliner for their annual gala fundraiser. Guess who was the headliner in 2022? None other than DJT himself. Headliner for these Log Cabin Republicans, okay? Keep that in mind. Now, that was then. This is now hawking the Bibles, right? But I found it really interesting, and I thought, man, this could really be used in an ad when it, as we get further into the election cycle, and contrasting Biden, who stands by his word, sometimes to his own detriment. Look at what's happening with him and Israel Netanyahu, right? Like, ooh, that's another topic for a little later. But he said it when he was the headliner in 2022 for the Log Cabin Republicans. Trump said, "We are fighting for the gay community, and we are fighting hard." If somebody could get a clip of that and have him doing the Bibles on one hand and fighting for the gay community on the other, yeah, that might generate some topics. But anyway, want to see what's going to happen. This thing that Melania is hosting for the Log Cabin Republicans on the 20th, it's not cheap. It's going for $10,000 a ticket. And as I said, she has been given the Spirit of Lincoln Award. This is their annual gala. So I want to go to Spirit and see like what is that all about in terms of a tension, a dynamic that may be setting up with Melania, who also was a headline speaker for some event in Florida around naturalized citizens. A couple of months ago, she was chosen as, because we know, she gained her citizenship. So with all the immigration issues around Trump and the horrible things he says about immigrants, and you have her out here a headline speaker at this naturalization service, this ceremony welcoming new immigrants becoming citizens. So there's some interesting tensions between the two of them I want to take a look at. Secondly, we all know by now that this $175 million drastically reduced bond for Trump in the civil fraud case in New York. So, miraculously, he comes up with this bond company who says we got him covered. This, what is it? The Knight Specialty Insurance Company. The chair of that is Don Hankey, right? Don Hankey with ties not only to Axos Bank, which has been in cahoots with Trump in the past, his organizations doing business loans, etc. So they've got a history between one another. But what's interesting is Tish James, chef's kiss, because she knew, because this Knight Specialty Insurance Company based out of LA, apparently there's some legal requirements where because they were not licensed in the state of New York as a bond company, they had to provide certain financial statements and proof that they were solvent enough to be able to actually put up this bond, 175 million, in case it was necessary. And they did not do that. They didn't comply with that. And so Tish James was like, wait a minute, pump the brakes on this. So there's going to be a hearing. I think it's scheduled for April 22nd. This Knight Specialty Insurance Company has been given some time to produce these financial records and show that, in fact, they've got enough money, cash collateral, to be able to put up and cover this bond. I want to take a look at that and see if that's going to flash or burn, whether they're going to come up with that. Also interesting for those of us who may not have known, I didn't know. I looked a little bit more into this Don Hankey. I saw the relationship between he and Donald Trump. What I did not know and learn just how scuzzy, for informational entertainment purposes only, this guy is. So we know he's a shareholder of this Axos Bank, which has done over $200 million in business with Trump businesses, loans to them around 2022. Fine. But he also has been sued, interestingly, while Trump was president. I think it started during the Obama administration, with his outfits being investigated, Hankey's outfits being investigated, because he's a subprime lender, very much in the auto industry, from what I understand. So he makes these, for people with low credit scores, he makes these incredible high interest rates loans to them, but in turn often repossesses the vehicles if they don't pay. So then he's paid on either way. He's getting money off of the people who really maybe couldn't have afforded the loan, took these really high interest rate loans, and then he gets the material back if necessary and can sell that. So it's really scuzzy. But he also got himself in hot water with the Department of Justice, because one of the things he was doing was repossessing cars of military workers. All right. Military workers are exempt from those kinds of judgments and repossessions, and he was doing it anyway. So he got caught doing that. The government went after him. I found he had to pay almost $700,000, almost upwards of $1 million to try and settle the case. He had to pay over $61,000 to the government itself. So he's been, and then he had another SCRA, Service Members Civil Relief Act. He had another $225,000 that he was fined by the Department of Justice for unjustifiably and illegally repossessing vehicles from military members. So this guy, he ain't no shining knight in shining armor for Trump's camp. and it'll be really interesting. I think that Tish James and crew, they're going to be all over him. They're going to have to show Loctite that they have that money. But we're going to take a look at that as well. And finally, the third thing is, we know that Juan Merchan put the kibbutz on the latest effort to try and stall the hush money trial. The latest thing was that Trump's attorneys subpoenaed NBC Universal, which put out the Stormy Daniels documentary, accusing them of trying to taint the jury, trying to capitalize off of the trial, trying to basically interfere with the progress of the trial. And Juan Merchan was like, nope, that just doesn't fly. It's not true. And he quashed the subpoena. He could put the kibbutz on it because he said basically Trump's attorneys were going after all these documents from NBC Universal related to the Stormy Daniels documentary. It was stuff, it was none of their business, and it didn't have anything to do with what Trump did with these payouts and Michael Cohen did with these payouts. So they basically said, no, you don't have, as Merchan said, you don't have a right to this privileged information through a media company, digging through everything there ever was around Stormy Daniels. I watched that documentary, by the way, you all. I was, interested to hear from if any of you did as well. Now, the timing of it was interesting. Initially, when the hush money trial was scheduled to go forward on March 25th, remember that? Initially, the documentary, Stormy Daniels documentary, Stormy it's called, came out on the 18th, right? So yeah, none of us, we don't have blindfolds on. We can see it for what it is. Yes, the timing of that was surely done at a time when people's interests would be really piqued in the Stormy Daniels story to the extent that they still want to learn more about it. It was a pretty interesting thing. I don't want to really go into that. That's not my point today, because really where I'm going with that is Spirit said, let's turn our attention to the jurors at this point. We know that Trump's team is doing everything possible and has done and will continue to do everything they can to delay every single one of these trials. And so far, unfortunately, they've been pretty successful. But this one is going forward. The Bragg trial, the hush money trial is going to go forward. Merchan is definitely plowing ahead. He's had enough. So I want to take a look at the jurors, because that is something that really we need to pay attention to. I think, if I understand it, you all correct me if I'm wrong, Merchan has indicated that identities, names, addresses, other personal information will be kept secret and kept away from Donald Trump in particular, who tends to, spout things off on air and on social media. So there's got to be some mechanisms in place to protect these jurors. From what I understand, 500 people have been called, and of that 500, they're going to whittle it down to a jury of 12, right? 12 and some alternates. So there's going to be a lot of work that goes into this. But also, while that work is being done, we've got issues like swatting. We've got other issues going on. People's, can you imagine if you were one of those people getting that subpoena in the mail to appear, a jury summons in the mail to appear? There's so much, even if you had passionate feelings around doing your civic duty, there's a lot to consider there. So we're going to look at will there be added measures put in place to protect the jurors in Donald Trump's hush money trial? All right, so having said that, let's get to some cards. Going back to Melania and Donald Trump, and if there is a conflict of interest between the two of them, like if there's a tension that's setting up between the two of them, with her appearing with this LGBTQ gala, and Donald increasingly going to the MAGA evangelicals. There's some tension heading there. We've got the Four of Earth. They're both holding their positions and deception with the Seven of Wands. Whoa. That's interesting. So they're holding their positions. The Four of Earth is, I think this is more from Melania's perspective. Melania she understands very well what she has lost. When all of this is said and done, so much of what he had and the lifestyle that she has enjoyed That's that holding on, that Four of Pentacles. It gives a feeling of I'm not destitute, but I feel like I need to hold on to what I have because I don't know what else may be coming. But that Seven of Swords is there's some serious she feels and knows that she was deceived. Whatever blinders, whatever charm, whatever way that she was insulated in knowing the truth and seeing the truth play out around Trump, and at the same time trying to hold on for herself some sense of justification for why she has to continue, and stay in the relationship. A lot of us were saying, in the early stages of this, that it was about money. Point plain and simple. She needs to stay in it for a certain amount of time so she can get the most amount of money. Now the money's in jeopardy, right? The money, the property, all of it is in jeopardy. We have the Page of Earth. That's interesting. For some reason, even though this comes up as a feminine visage, I'm feeling like this is barren. And she's trying to keep him. She's trying to create, she doesn't want him to wind up in the same box that he would if he only lived through the lens of Trump's worldview. She sees it as so skewed and becoming even increasingly so. She really does want to create a different dynamic for Barron. And there she is. I'm seeing her there as the Mother of Pentacles or Mother of Earth. Notice that daughter situation, but again, not gender specific. I think she's really thinking about how to navigate. And I also think Spirit is she looking at needing to make money herself as she entered that realm where she's thinking, I gotta make money. Six of Cups. Melania's making headway, or wants to continue to make headway with groups like these log cabin Republicans, LGBTQ communities and others, because she is looking at a way to carve a life for herself and Barron. I want to say, quote unquote, post Trump, whatever that means, right? If it's literally post him, and yes, the Four of Cups, comfort. She wants to create she's, instead of looking at having to write it out with him, feeling like, maybe legally and otherwise, whatever document she had in place, that she would get a certain amount out of it when it came time for her to go her own way. And I think all along she has had that idea in mind for quite some time now. The Hermit. She's going her own way. She's going to go her own way. There is only so much that he can do at this point to push her hand or to force her hand. And he will only allow her, or his campaign, his handlers, Trump's handlers, will only really push her to be visible when it is absolutely necessary, when it is unavoidable. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see a lot more from her until closer to the convention in July. But yes, this not only has created a tension between them with that Hermit, the idea that she has ties to certain organizations that very clearly are conflicting with some of the ways that Trump is, some of the directions that he's trying to go in. Keeping in mind too that he's gotten his MAGA faithful, evangelical faithful. Now he's telling them, whatever you do, please buy Trump media, social media stock, right? Trump media stock, because it's tanking and it will continue to do so. But again, the MAGA faithful. So he's reaching out to, if you can tap into this Christian community, these hard right Christians, that there's this sense of obligation to support him. And that's what he's, I'm the one being persecuted on behalf of all of you. Again, that sort of Jesus complex with the Bible. But then you got your wife out here hanging out with people who clearly none of this is, quote unquote, allowed in the Bible. That's going to be a really interesting dynamic. And it'll be interesting to see whether she gets shut down by that. Spirit, is she going to stand her ground with it? Judgment. She ain't going to get shut down. She is... Yeah, Melania, she's already thinking life after. and she's going to make contacts or keep her contacts and her connections based on life after. All right, moving ahead. Let's look at this $175 million bond. And Tish James said, wait. This paperwork was not complete. We don't have everything. We don't even know. All you came through and said was, take our word for it. We got it. And she's like, no, that's not going to fly. So let's see. We've got a hearing coming up on that on April 22nd. Will this Knight and Don Hankey and this Knight specialty insurance company, will they furnish the proper documents to prove that they have the money to cover Donald Trump's bond? Will they come through with that money? Well, with the statements. We have the Page of Cups, the Mother of Cups or Queen of Cups, and we have Defeat. This is Tish James saying, show me the flow of money, show me the flow of cash, show me those financial statements. But then we've got the Five of Wands. Something here isn't right, you all. Because that means they got to come up with $175 million liquid that they are willing to put on the line for him, for Trump. Seven of Swords, deception. Okay. I don't know if they're gonna, if they do come up with it, and if they make it look really solid on paper, it's still funky. Daughter or Princess of Pentacles or Knight of Pentacles actually is what I'm seeing. And Judgment again. Second chances to get it right. The Hermit. So they're going back and reviewing, and the stability. The Four of Pentacles again. That's been coming up a lot around him in my readings around Trump. And again, the Four of Pentacles is an energy where you're not destitute, but you don't know where your next is coming from. There's a finite amount of whatever you need to get done. It's like the walls are closing in on him. I feel like there's going to be more, either more delays requested to try and provide the appropriate, because that's Seven of Swords, and then I've also got the Page of Swords here. So there's more chatter. That makes me feel like there's more filings. They're going to try and delay their need to show and demonstrate actual cash liquidity for that 175 million, which begs the question of whether that amount of money, cash money, actually is on tap for him. We've got the Hierophant. That's the banks. He's going to have to go into Hankey in this Knight Specialty Insurance Company. He's going to have to go back to his bank or to actually try and come up with the liquidity for this. And that may take a little more time than they've been given. So it looks like they're gonna pull one more filing, one more some sort of delay tactic to say, yes, we have it, but there's something that makes it, they need a little more time to furnish that information. So the bottom line, they didn't really have it, y'all. That's how it's looking to me. How's it looking to you? I don't think they really had it, but now they're scrambling to get it because Tish James said, wait a minute, this doesn't look right. You need to comply with the rules. All right. And finally, juror protection. As we said, Juan Merchan has done an amazing job of keeping this case, the only one so far that's going forward, and keeping it on track. And now we are at the point, from what I understand, 500 juror summonses went out. Of that 500, that's a whole lot of people to go through. They have to fill out questionnaires. Those questionnaires are, of course, then dispersed between the two legal teams, and they have to go through all sorts of things. So it's a really psychological and interesting process, from what I understand, to decide who is really at this point, at this stage, who is capable of rendering a non-biased decision, be able to sit through this trial and remain open to the evidence in a largely democratic place where Trump's history is very, very, very thick, and there are strong feelings about him as a businessman, his family, etc. So let's see. What protections will be put in place for the jurors? Will Juan Merchan? Judgment, again, very, very strong energy. For those of you who may not read tarot, I've gotten judgment now several times in relation to the readings today. It is ruled by Pluto. Transformation, huge transformation. Keeping in mind, again, that all of this is happening around this eclipse energy. And the judgment is a card. Some people call it a card of second chances. Other people call it a card of like having a aha moment. It's when things crack because the illusions are gone. There's no place to pretend anymore. Enough events have transpired to where you're just like, I gotta own up to this. It is what it is. That's sort of a judgment sort of energy. As it relates to these jurors, this is Merchan exercising the necessary protections and exercising judgment, good judgment, in order to give these jurors a chance to do their civic duty, but understand they should not have to risk their lives or have their lives upended in order to do that. We have the Eight of Wands. I love it. Yes, he is going to put something in place and be very strict about that to protect these jurors. He understands the gravity of this situation. The Eight of Cups. Here it says despair, but I think this is more understanding that of these 500 jurors, or those who've been potential jurors who've been subpoenaed, given jury summonses, there's a lot of them who are going to, twist it every which kind of way, right and left to try and avoid being picked for very good reasons, right? So that's that Eight of Cups. They don't want it. And there's a Five of Wands, the conflict. This is going to be such a fight, you all, between Alvin Bragg's team, the state of New York, and Trump's attorneys, Trump's side, around the selection of jurors. But Six of Wands, a victory. And again, so victory in relation to our central question, which is whether these jurors are going to be protected. The fight is going to be that in order to instill fear and reluctance in that prospective juror pool, Trump's team is going to instill as much fear and trepidation as they possibly can. That's that conflict. But I think Merchan is going to be willing, between that Eight of Wands and the Six of Wands. It feels like Merchan is he already sees it coming. He already knows what it is. And so I think he's going to definitely be very, very straight and to the point and have things put in place to protect them. Bravery. Seven of Wands. Exactly. Because he wants these jurors, whoever, as they whittle it down, gotta have a jury. This trial's gonna happen, gotta have a jury. He's going to want them to have the reassurance. So whether this is certainly not making their addresses available, but then from what I understand, part of the tactic is if you have a name, even just a name, you go on social media, you find Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, whatever, you try and find whatever you can on people, so you can, if they've made any comments, or you can pretty much gauge from their posts what their political temperament is, their ideological temperament. So there's that aspect. Are those names going to actually be protected? I read somewhere that they even, in certain situations, they will even tell juries, don't tell one another your real names. Like, just keep this information to yourself. And there's a Four of Wands there. Protection. It says here perfection, but I feel like, yes, there is something that is going to be put in place that will protect these jurors in this case. And thank goodness. And and it will be through no cooperation of Trump's side, because they definitely want to utilize as much fear and trepidation as they possibly can, to delay even the process of picking a jury. But ultimately, I think Marshawn has seen that. He already sees it coming, and there will be some sort of really strict measures put in place to reassure these jurors, whoever is actually chosen, that they will be protected in this situation. All right, you all? All right, I hope that's been helpful. Would love your feedback, and I'll check back in with you. I'm going to do a pick a card on the eclipse for you all as well. If you have any questions or you want to book a reading with me, the information for that is down below as well. And I thank so many of my subscribers and my members. Really, really, really grateful to you. I'll be doing something for you all as well, special members only video. Talk to you real soon. Stay safe out there. Bye.